Hello class and welcome to our second lecture series on Managerial Accounting, and I'm your instructor Jamal Haider. Okay, so we are starting chapter 2, which is Managerial Accounting and Cost Concepts. So let's just first talk about our first learning objective, that is identify and give examples of each of the three basic manufacturing cost categories. Let's just talk about this. Number one, so the classification of manufacturing cost, right? There are other costs, different cost categorization. We'll talk about classification of cost, but right now we're talking about only manufacturing cost, right? Okay, so manufacturing cost consists of three costs. Number one, the material cost. Number two, direct labor cost. And number three, manufacturing overhead. So let's just talk about number one. Okay, number one was direct material. So pay very close attention to the word direct material. So direct means that you can easily calculate, which is directly, it's in front of your eyes, in front of your tips. You can easily, directly, you can measure that point. So for example, raw materials, right? That became an integral part of the production or of the product, and that can be conveniently traced directly to it. So the word directly or conveniently is very important for the definition for direct material. So in this example of automobile, what would you think is the direct material? Number one example is a radio installed, right? Can you conveniently find out its price or its value, right? What about the others? Can you give the example? Christine, Sipade. Min, Arone.
Like a glass of the car.
Well done. The window here, the glass. There are 4 glass or 6 glasses in a car, right? You can easily calculate its value, like amount of iron ore, right? The tires, alloy rim, right? Exhaust, seats. These are called direct material. Engine, right? Steering. So these are all called direct material, which you can, the price can be conveniently, easily, or directly can be, measured. We call this direct material. Can you give me your example? I gave you the example of car. What about the example of cloths? What would be the raw material?
Wait,
the
what is
cottons, maybe?
The fabric.
Well done. Fabric and
Thread, maybe.
thread. How you can find out the price of thread? How much thread is going to be used?
Like per meter, I don't know.
Is it easily for you to calculate the per meter thread? Cost of per meter thread?
I think so.
How?
Not sure. I don't know.
You know that how many meters are in one thread?
No.
And how much machine is using? It means it is not conveniently, easily, right, Christine?
Right, yeah.
right? So we don't call it direct material. Direct material can be fabric, okay, and then buttons. You know that fancy button, very nice button. Nowadays, this is the age of fancy buttons. Okay, like in one shirt, if I talk about my shirt, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 buttons. What is the cost of 10 buttons? You can just easily find out. Okay, in one pack, there are 100 buttons, 100 button cost 10 yuan. Okay, then 10 buttons cost 1 yuan easily, right? You don't have to go through extensive laborious process or mathematical formulas, this kind of stuff. We can find out the per shirt price of thread, but it is a laborious process. It is not conveniently. You need to find some formulas. It takes time, right? And how about the tickens, the collar stuff? Which kind of collar you are installing? Like French collar, it is Italian collar, right? Thick collar, long collars, vintage style. So you have different collars prices as well, right? So you can easily find out the direct material in clothing, in shirt, if I talk about specifically, right? If it's a girl's fashion, then you can also find out, okay, how much is the sticker cost? I know little fashion of like, glitters or, well, no, not glitter, epilator, if I pronounce correctly. No, not epilator. Ah, forget about it. I'm not good at regarding female clothing. Okay, so, but you get the idea, right?
Yeah.
Good. Direct labor. Similarly, the cost of labor that you can calculate directly, and the word is conveniently, easily, right? Okay, here we go. So, and when we talk about the cost of labor, remember on which basis? Basis is going to be per unit. Direct material per unit, direct labor per unit, right? So, so we continue our example of this automobile. What is the direct labor? Okay, how many hours the workers work on this car? Okay, they make during the day 3 cars, and they spend 6 hours. You can easily calculate, okay, 2 hours approximately they work on this car, right? I'm talking about, for example, this is was the engineer, electrical engineer, who is basically connecting the wires inside, it's electrical system. There is a assembly line manager who is installing the car. He also spent like 2 hours, this kind of stuff, right? Or that person who is basically painting the car. Normally it is painted by through some machinery process, but whatsoever, right? Installing the seats, like installing engine, this kind of stuff, testing, driving the car for test, like it's like that. So these cars, you can easily calculate the labor cost on them, right? Wages paid to automobile assembly workers, electricians, those who are assembling tires, those who are installing the gear system, exhaust, this kind of stuff, installing AC, connection, this kind of stuff, right? So, and in other example, you can give regarding the direct labor in case of that shirt making. What would be the direct labor? We talked about that the direct material is going to be fabric, buttons, the collar style. What about the direct labor? Can you hear me? So guys, I was talking about what would be the direct labor cost in the case of, oh, sorry, my bad. In case of shirt manufacturing. So we talked about the direct material. We know that the prices of button, the price of fabric, and the price of collar was the direct material. But what about the direct labor cost in case of making of shirt?
The wages for the tailor.
Okay, good, good. And Sipade, Christine, Arone, Min.
You mean the wages paid to people who are making the short materials, like fabrics?
Of course, the payment of the tailor, but inside a factory,
Mm-hmm.
the person who is responsible for cutting,
Oh, yeah.
we can find out it is how much time it had spent, cutting off like 2 3 shirts. We can easily find out, and that person who is suing them, right?
Oh, yes, right.
The tailors are different, cutters are different, so we can easily find out, right? So we call this direct labor. Any kind of example you can find out now. For example, in building a house, what is direct material? Of course, bricks, cement, or cost of steel, cost of doors, and cost of, for example, wires, plumbing works, these kind of stuff. But what about the direct labor in building a house? Cost of the person who is like laborers, cost of what you call that? The person who is laying the bricks, right? Skilled workers who is for ready for installing the roof, all those stuff. These are direct labors. Also the wages of cranes and wage people of cranes and all those stuff, those who lifting the heavy objects and all those stuff, these are also called direct labors, right? The trucks wages, those who are carrying out or smoothing out the land for you to make the house, this kind of stuff. We call this direct labor, which we can easily trace out. That's it. The the definition in direct labor and direct material is that convenience and direction. Simple. You can directly and easily calculate. That's it.